into what happened after I met Sexy Trappa, you know what I mean, after I discovered her at the Shippathorn. Also, explain to the people why, even though a lot of my time got, cut down and shaved down, I'm still in here, fighting, cases. So, after I met Sexy Trappa, you know what I mean, after Shippathorn, me and her started rocking real tight, you know what I mean, started getting a lot of money together, you know what I mean, so one of the things I had her do, you know what I mean, at the beginning, when we started rocking was, I had her moving product out of town. I have been moving product in and out of town, so like some of my best customers, like I will have, like Bip out in St. Louis. I have my nigga straight like that. Down in, Memphis, I'm down in Memphis / Arkansas. And what I would do is I would have Sexy Trappa. I would take her, you know what I mean, strap up like a key on each thigh and a key around her waist, you know what I mean, so I might like have like 4 keys strapped to her, you know what I mean, probably like what, a key on her in the front, in the back of her, and a key on each thigh, so like that's like move, like 4 keys, right, and I would dress her up like, remember how like TLC and Left Eye used to dress back in the day with the baggy clothes, yeah, so I would have her wear baggy clothes, you know what I mean, no hoodies, jeans, and and she'd move that work out of town, through Greyhound and, and through the train, system and shit, and they'd never expect it because all they see is a girl, walking through with baggy clothes on, baggy sweatsuit, you know what I mean? Little do they know she's moving that shit, you know what I mean, to St. Louis and into, Memphis and Arkansas, you know what I mean? So we did that for a while together. So we started seeing like a lot of our peoples and, friends of ours getting knocked off and, you know what I mean, and going to jail for, long amounts of time, getting sentenced, crazy numbers for keys and, for drugs and shit, narcotics. So we slowed down on that for a while. And then I came up with the idea. I'm like, well, Jackie has a job working with people as far as like doing taxes and shit. I came up with the idea with Sexy Trappa that, maybe you should get the job with Jackie. And from there we can get our hands on CPN numbers, social security numbers, you know what I mean? And we could do our thing, you know what I mean, far as like, swiping credit cards and shit, shit like that. So I went to Jackie, hollered at her, told her that, Trappa, wants to work, where she worked for is like working with, the taxes and shit. And Jackie understood where I was going with it. She was just like, hey, you know what I mean? I could get y'all in, but whatever y'all do, if y'all get caught, y'all don't know me, I got nothing to do with it. No problem. So now me and Trappa, we doing our thing for us that, like, she was working there for a while. She'd get her hands on a social security number or a bank card or something, or a CPN number. We started getting money that way. You know what I mean? Doing our thing, you know what I mean? Just doing what we do to get money, you know what I mean? Then once that got a little hot, you know what I mean? Because a lot of people was getting knocked off the CPN numbers and social security and the scamming and all that shit. We slowed down on that. And then, I had her, quit that job. And then I came up with another idea. I'm like, well, shit, since you used to work in the clubs for us like a bartender or a stripper, I was like, maybe we could, do something through the bars where you could meet certain players and motherfuckers that get money through there. And we can get niggas that way, you know what I mean? So, first thing I did is I called up my girl Nisa, you know what I mean? Nisa's like, like a sis, you know what I mean? She down in Miami, so I'm like, yo, I took her down, down to Miami. Nisa, I had Nisa drive Trappa around, showing her all the hot spots, showing her where all the players, hang out at, all the niggas that get money. And then I had her work in the clubs as a bartender, you know what I mean? And she met a lot of people, man, a lot of niggas that was getting money. And then that way, not only they was, giving her money and she, sometimes she might find a credit card here, some jewelry here, bring it back to me, you know what I mean? We was getting our money like that for a minute, you know what I mean? And we did that, like, every time we felt like shit was getting hot in each state, we moved to the next state. So, we started in Florida, you know what I mean? Did our thing a little bit in Dallas, but not too much, cause we ain't want motherfuckers to catch on to us quick. Went out to Atlanta, rock niggas to sleep in Atlanta. Nah, man. Then, I was like, damn, maybe we can go to New York, but then I'm like, nah, I was kind of reluctant to go back to New York, but then I'm like, maybe we could go to New York because, these other states, we done hit these motherfuckers like twice, you know what I mean? We done hit up Atlanta, we done hit up Miami, you know what I'm saying? We done did the credit card thing. We done moved keys of coke, plus the drug game was slowing down, they was cracking down on that shit. Niggas was going to jail left and right, you know what I mean? So, and we wanted to keep this money flowing, you know what I mean? Me and Trappa, whatever, so I'm like, alright, so we gonna go to New York. So we went to New York, had her working the clubs in New York, you know what I mean? Doing the thing for us like a bartender, stripper. And she met a lot of people. And another thing we would do is like, we would get motherfuckers like sometimes she'll meet a nigga that's getting money and she'll leave the door open, or come back with that key. Cause they, fell in love and trust her with that key and we go and get the money by any means necessary, right? Somehow, one night, Trappa's working the clubs in New York. She meet this dude, this inspiring rapper, artist from Harlem, flashy nigga, named Top Flea. Now Top Flea was a rapper from Harlem, real flashy, get money nigga. You know what I mean? I later found out that he was into scamming, you know what I mean? Him and his producer slash manager, Shot L, you know what I mean? These niggas, they had a little following online as far as the music, you know what I mean? Top Flea was a good rapper, you know what I mean? Then his producer slash manager, Shot L, was dope on the beats, so they had like a following. Both from Harlem, flashy niggas. Top Flea kind of remind me, remember how Joel Santana was when he was young, as far as like the jewelry, the clothes, real flashy, the cars. You know what I mean? He was like that. Cause they wasn't really getting money on the rapping. They was doing that cause that's what they love to do, but they were getting their money on the back end for us, like scamming. You know what I mean? For us, doing the same thing for some credit cards and shit. So, I guess the nigga Top Flea took a liking to Trappa. So they talk and they exchange numbers. They hang out a few times, and Trappa will always tell me, this nigga, got a lot of money, like, he taking her places, buying all kind of clothes, giving her money, they riding around in all kinds of cars and shit like that, you know what I mean? So I told her, do what you gotta do, make that nigga fall in love, you know what I mean? So, they hanging out for about maybe like a month or so. They just hanging out, you know what I mean? But our goal was to get to the big money. So we, she was rocking with him until he trusted her enough to bring her back to his spot in Jersey. He had a spot in Jersey, even though he's from home, he had a spot in Jersey. Top Flea and, Shot L, his, producer slash manager, and, so they chilling. So I guess she spent a few weekends there hanging out with him. So she comes back, she's like, these niggas getting a lot of money, we should see what's up with them. You know what I'm saying? Cool. So I came up with a plan, you know what I mean, with my nigga Triple Darkness. Now Triple Darkness is my nigga. Straight out of Brownsville, Brooklyn. He the motherfucker I would call when shit got thick in the streets, when shit got heavy. And I needed a nigga to go all out. With them guns. Triple Darkness was one of the main niggas I would call. You know what I mean? Even him or my nigga MHB. But I called on Triple Darkness, you know what I mean? Being that he's from New York, from Brownsville, you know what I mean? And this is gonna be basically a Jersey job. Could be going out to Jersey. Call the Triple Darkness, set up the plan. So I told Trappa, I'm like, alright, so you gonna go out to Jersey where these niggas at. When we see you come outside to smoke, you know what I mean, or whatever, we know that's our cue to go in. So anyway, we ride out to Jersey, park up. Trapper's already in there with the Ty Hayes nigga, and the manager Shy L's there too. So anyway, I guess the Ty Hayes nigga went downstairs into the studio because they had a studio in the crib. He's working on music. Shy L, I guess, is somewhere in the crib watching TV. So we seen Trapper come out. She's smoking. We know that's IQ to go in. So boom. Me and Triple Darkness, we go in. We get in the crib. We went into the Shy L nigga. Boom, grab him up. Grab him up, tie him up. You know what I mean? So, we told him, we asked him where, though the top fleet nigga is. And that's the Trapper said he must be downstairs in the studio because he always go downstairs at night. So we we told Trapper, no, we used his phone. We said, where's your phone at? So the Shy L nigga showed us where his phone at. We text him from his phone instead of Trapper's phone. Text him from his phone, no, come upstairs real quick, bro. So, mind you, I already told Triple Darkness to try to go find the safe. So Triple Darkness is somewhere in the house looking for a safe. I'm in the room. Shy L's tied up. You know what I mean? Trapper, she's in the room with me. So when he comes in, all he sees is her standing there. But when he gets all the way in the room, he sees his man tied up. Then I pop out with the gun. This nigga tries to put up a fight. So damn, so me and the Ty Flea, we tussling for the gun. Now I ain't gonna lie, I lost my footing. He kinda was getting the best of me. Trapper had no choice. She comes up behind him, pow, pops this nigga in the fucking head. So my nigga Triple Darkness must have heard that. He came running back. He looked, the Ty Flea nigga's shot in the head. He's on the ground bleeding out. He's dead. So the Shy L nigga, you know what I mean? He's still sitting there. He's bugged out. He's starting to cry and shit. He's tied up. There's nothing he can do. He see his man shot in the head. So we like, fuck. So I like, yo, we gotta hurry up. We know somebody heard that shot. So I went to the nigga. I put my gun in his face. I'm like, tell us where the safe is now, nigga. So he told us the safe, gave us a combination. We go to the safe, boom. These niggas had at least motherfucker 300,000 in there. Money, jewelry, credit cards, socials, all that. So we empty out the safe, boom. So we gotta make it look like a robbery. Me and Triple Darkness be flipping furniture over, knocking furniture over, flipping over couches, TVs. We empty motherfucking Ty Flea's pockets. He had another 8,000 on him. Took that, took his jewelry. Empty Shy L's, pockets, took his jewelry. We said, yo, you know what I mean? We was like, don't say nothing, like you ain't mutant. Don't say our names, nigga. You know what I mean? So we leave up out of there. Me, motherfucking Triple Darkness, and Trapper, we get the fuck up out of there. We run up out of there. Get in the car, we take off. Split the money up. My nigga Triple Darkness goes back to Brownsville. Me and Trapper, we head back to Dallas and shit. So for years, the case was cold because the Shy L nigga never, he never told. He just said, yo, some niggas came and robbed him. And you know what I mean? Because, of course the neighbors dialed 911 when they heard that gunshot, but we got out of it, just in time. So he said he don't know, he just know some niggas came in, and the good thing, through the grace of God at that time, they stopped paying for the surveillance camera footage because they figured, they hardly be home. They be on the road so much. You know what I mean? They stopped paying for the camera footage, so they didn't even have us on camera. The cameras in the crib meant nothing because they stopped paying for the fucking bill. So for years that case was closed, and then, online you see them putting R.I.P., for Ty Flea, the rapper and shit, playing his music. They even ran, the case, they talked about the case on TV. There's been times where I've been in the barbershop, or even went to visit my mom's, and she's sitting there watching, like Snap or whatever them shows, and they talk about that case of Ty Flea getting killed and how they can't find the killers. And it wasn't till years later, the producer nigga Shy L, you know what I mean, that was with Ty Flea that night, got into an altercation with a girl, you know what I mean, which was online. The girl, I guess he tried to holler at the girl, and the girl rejected him, and she pulled out her cell phone and started making fun, talking shit to him like, yeah, look at this bum ass nigga trying to holler at me, this broke ass nigga trying to holler at me, you know what I mean? And he got mad, he shot the girl. But unfortunately for him, you know what I mean, the girl survived, she lived, so not only she testified, but they had the footage of him shooting the girl online. So I guess, in order to save his ass, that's when he gave information about the cold case about, Todd Flea and what really happened that night. Gave my name, Sexy Trappa name, and, but we went to trap hoods for years. They couldn't get us on anything. It was the murder shit, you know what I mean, that I was running from out of New York and New Jersey. And that's when Officer Book got that, and that's why Officer Book came to Dallas looking for me, because he was investigating that murder shit between the Todd Flea and shit. So being that this nigga shot Eldon turned to rap because he done went and shot a girl on camera. He trying to save his ass. He gives up information years later about this murder. So that's how, they found out what happened. But what happened was, being that through Shot L's testimony, basically they looked at it as like a self-defense because the nigga Todd Flea put up a fight and Trappa had no choice but to shoot him. So they charged her with like manslaughter. She's out now. She done served the time and got out. So now, with me being that me or Triple Darkness and pull the trigger, they don't know whether to charge us with the murder. You know what I mean? They trying to figure that out now, but so it's really the murder that still got us locked there, got us jammed up, you know what I mean? So we, that's why we locked down, you know what I mean? But, even though they saved a lot of my time now, it's that shit that, that fucked us up, you know what I'm saying? But before all that, me and Trappa was real close, we was getting a lot of money together. I mean, one time, we was getting so much money, she saved us so much money, she was able to buy her dream home. And I mean, one day she invited me over, she was so excited, you know what I mean, that she was able to buy her house. She would just, she wanted to thank me. She was like, I really want to thank you for getting me out, the strip club, you know what I mean? She used to tell me how her and the B-Way nigga, was bumping heads ever since Money Tire went up to him. For him to fund the club, and, shit would just went left and she was miserable going to work, for them. And, she was happy that I basically rescued her out of that situation. And I'm like, yeah, it's all good, you know what I mean? And, Iman was, really wanting to thank me, and, one thing led to another, y'all know what it is, you know what I mean? But, yeah, me and baby girl Trappa, we was rocking for a minute, she came to see me last week, came to visit me or whatever. And, she homing it down till I come home, you know what I mean? That's baby girl, but other than that, we still just fighting the case, and, we just gonna keep our mouth shut, keep it gangster, and hold it down. But definitely shout out to Trappa, man, you know what I mean? Definitely a real one, you know what I mean?